A lot of the gas demand is driven by the need for new power generation. As many of you also know, the Offsets Group has been responsible for a very large percentage of the industrial development programs that we've had in Abu Dhabi, many of which have been held up because of lack of availability of gas. And 8 to 10 billion refers to some of these investments, not necessarily investments made by us, but investments enabled by us in Abu Dhabi. But the same exists in Qatar because of investments that are a year and a half ago, the governments, the presidents of both the UAE and the Emir of Qatar announced a very large multi-billion-dollar investment program into industrial development in Qatar, principally built on gas-intensive industrial development in Qatar. That again will be using Dolphin gas, and the capital investments associated with those petrochemical and energy-intensive projects would also be included. Same applies for Dubai. Where there are a number of projects are waiting to be commissioned, waiting for the investments again in Oman. That's where the 8 to 10 billion comes for. As far as Pakistan and India are concerned, we ourselves haven't actually stated a number. The number of taking gas by pipe to Pakistan or beyond Pakistan is very, very sensitive to the volumes that we'll be taking over there. As you know, some of us, more than one of us, are already taking gas into the subcontinent through LNG from the region and from beyond the region, and the volumes and the volume ramp-ups of going across to Pakistan or beyond would be a figure that we just have not been venturing to yet, because we have, in fact, not committed to specific ramp-ups. We're quite happy to be trading into those markets. Separately, all of us are investing and looking at investment opportunities in the subcontinent for projects that use gas, that transport gas, that receive gas. And all of that is really laying the groundwork for us being able to pipe gas into the subcontinent. I don't know if you want to add.
Maybe I just one point. I think it's a very good summary. Just to clarify, I think it would be premature at this stage to say we're going to spend 8 or 10 or 5 or $50 billion, whatever it might be, in the projects. We're going to focus on the first project. That in itself is a large effort. And if you get too far ahead of us here, and we start thinking about, well, gas to Pakistan or gas to India or gas to other parts, which is very viable in this thing, I think over the long term, it's a much longer term proposition. So I think that the message today is we're going to focus on the initial project, and which in itself is a very large effort. And so I wouldn't get, I think it'd be premature to start predicting capital allocations for the next 10 to 15 years.
Before we've even got the gas, at
the
border.
Yeah. Yes, question over here.
I'm Vladimir Todros, Bloomberg News. And you, Dr. Amin, you just started talking about markets, market for this gas. Could you please elaborate a little bit further on why should energy consumption in Oman and Emirates rise so drastically? Could you please name some projects, some industrial projects which are now waiting for this gas? And another question, just a clarification, on equity in this project. This 49% are going to be, what, split equally?
Yes.
Between the two? Thanks.
Generally, and then specifically on demand. Demand for gas has been growing at quite a dramatic rate, and I may need to ask some of my colleagues, or in fact maybe some of the members of the press, to assist me in some of these numbers, but has been growing dramatically anyway, Vladimir, over the last several years. The problem is that most of the gas that has been supplied has been gas that has been in a trade-off between our use as oil producers for re-injection or sending off to industry. And the economic model of how much oil do you produce for a unit gas consumed to how much aluminium or electricity you produce is a difficult one. So that trade-off that is a very natural trade-off that has existed throughout the Gulf countries and not just in Abu Dhabi. Being able to relieve that pressure releases quite a lot of pent-up demand on its own. When you look at the power generation just after the privatization of the power, the ADWIA, the Abu Dhabi Water and Electricity Authority, has issued numbers of the amount of new power projects that need to be implemented, including the replacement of power projects in Abu Dhabi. And that demand alone underpins, I think, 3/4 of the total demand that we're anticipating for the Abu Dhabi Emirate, which is about half of the total demand that we're planning for. In addition to that, there are expansions, for example, in Dubai for the aluminium production. We in Abu Dhabi as well have an aluminium production, which we intend to be cooperating with our getting to that, yeah. To expand the production in Qatar. The petrochemical industry in Qatar has been an area that has been announced by the Qatari government, and they require some of the ethane-rich gas to reach there. Vice Chairman of Sanaat here in the audience, and I'm not going to forget mentioning that project. Sanaat is a project that is co-led by the government of Dubai and the Offsets Group in Abu Dhabi to develop a multi-billion-dollar petrochemical industry in the UAE. The principal enabler that's been missing there has been the supply of gas. And that's a whole press conference on its own of the different chemistries that Abu Dhabi wishes to go to compared to Qatar, and we're coordinating that so it's a complementary ability, as well as the petrochemical industries that Dubai is going into, and there are different clusters that we are looking at in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar, so that we do it in a joint complementary way. As far as Oman is concerned, just 3 days, did they announce? Yeah, just 3 days ago, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and the Sultan of Brunei spent talks talking about the development of the industrial programs and infrastructure industrial programs in Oman, principally through Abu Dhabi funding, and that's again in the aluminium, petrochemical, but also heavy industrial development using the ports on the Arabian Seas. So these are just some of the examples. Another one, which is an offset project, Tabreed, uses perhaps slightly less volumes in the early stages, but Tabreed is a district cooling project, which, just to put that in perspective, cooling represents 60% of the total electricity consumption of the UAE in the summer months. And 60% of the total electricity consumption means 60% of the total gas consumption in the summer months. Swing load management for people like us is extremely important because it helps reduce our CapExes. And the whole development of district cooling, and therefore using the gas for the district cooling element, has the ability to take a significant chunk of the total gas of the gas consumed. These are some, and these are the only ones I'm sort of really at liberty to talk about, because these are ones that we, as the Offsets Group, are sort of funding or developing ourselves. But we're just one of many groups in each one of these countries. So I think you get the picture of what is enabled by the delivery of gas. However, as far as the volumes that we're talking about, we're only talking about the volumes of only a part of those volumes that we ourselves feel we have control over, because as Joe said, we'd like to start with a phase and build on that phase and build on slowly. We want to use our human capital just as carefully as we're going to be using our shareholders' equity. As far as distribution, it's for 24.5 for 51.
International Gas Report, you mentioned the proportions of demand that would be coming in Abu Dhabi and so on, of the overall demand you're anticipating. Can you put some figures on that?
Yeah, I can. I need to make sure I remember.
Yeah, we think we're going to.
Yeah, do you want to?
I think initially we're probably going to start out with a ramp up. The pipeline will be about a 3 BCF pipeline. With a 3 BCF pipeline, which will anchor from, or actually start in Qatar to Abu Dhabi. Probably the first phase of that will be about 1.2 BCF, ramping up to 3 over a period of time. So I think the initial market will be about 1 to 1.2 BCF per day, and then hopefully as the market expands, it'll expand to about 3 BCF.
And about 80% of that is the UAE market.
That's right.
And of that, Abu Dhabi represents the lion's share, both for Abu Dhabi, but also for Abu Dhabi supply to satisfy Abu Dhabi requirements for Dubai, existing requirements for Dubai.
Abu Dhabi, Dubai.
Who outranks who? Is that?
Sorry, yes, Dr. Amin, this is Eddie O'Sullivan from Mead again. One question for Mr. Sutton, one question for you. The question to Mr. Sutton is, does this commitment to the Dolphin scheme mean that you've irrevocably abandoned the possibility of investing in an LNG plant in Qatar? And the second question is for Dr. Amin. Do you envisage a time where a project like this project will be supplying gas to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait as well?
Do you want me to answer first? I think that's your first question. Is Enron has? I think it's safe to say we do not have plans to build an LNG plant upstream in Qatar. That was at one time it was an endeavor we were looking at to try and ensure our gas supply to India, our LNG supply to India. We were able to contract that supply, as you may know, in phase 1 from Oman and Abu Dhabi. And we're looking for other follow-on supplies from other regions. The LNG market's changed a bit, and it's a bit more of a buyer's market now. So we're able to find those supplies and bring them in. So Enron really has no interest in Qatar in terms of an upstream LNG effort. No.
As far as the other part, Eddie, I read in your magazine not too long ago about the demand. Shortfalls that exist both in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, the structural demand shortfalls that exist in Saudi Arabia, principally geographically over a period of time. You won't be surprised to know that we had our own versions of those numbers, and I think I can confirm that there is a big demand there. In Kuwait as well, there's a big demand. As far as we're concerned, we are markets, we are suppliers, we are transporters, and if there are markets that can benefit from our gas, then of course we will pursue it. What we're concentrating on, however, is the first phase, and if the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia feels that it can benefit from Dolphin gas, I think we can offer a very unique source of supply. Unique because we have concessions that can deliver those kind of volumes. In Qatar, no one else does, and within the GCC, nobody else can. If you look at the pricing, then it'll be very difficult for anybody to transport gases to where the structural demand is, where we are. But right now we're not actively pursuing markets other than the core markets because we just want to get out there, pour some concrete and dig some holes.
What's the timetable for the ramp-up you were describing at the moment in your own mind? Going from 1.2 to...
I think that probably, if you look at it initially as a late 2002, early 2003 time frame, there'd probably be about a 1.5 to 2 years of ramp up.
And if I can just add to that, the limitation on the ramp up is we are asking other people to help us supply our markets while we ramp up. So the limitation ramp up is not market take, but simply the technical ability for us to ramp up and to manage the capital use, the use of our capital.